She was off duty, halfway to the mess hall, when the smoke started rising. Others ran out. She ran in. Through flame and smoke, she grabbed fire extinguishers, broke down doors, pulled 2 recruits out with her bare hands. By the time fire crews arrived, the blaze was already shrinking. They asked who was on watch. The answer? No one. Just her. Off-duty didn't mean off-duty to her. The soldier they never expected became the first one in and the last one out. From which military base around the world are you watching this video today? If you enjoy stories that blend military duty with the power of instinctive heroism, consider subscribing for more content that explores how true service emerges not from obligation, but from character when lives are at stake. The evening routine at Marine Corps Recruit Depot Paris Island had settled into the methodical precision that characterized military installations where training cycles demanded constant vigilance and safety protocols protected thousands of recruits whose preparation for military service required comprehensive oversight and emergency readiness that could respond to any situation threatening personnel safety. Lance Corporal Maria Santos walked toward the mess hall at exactly 1830 hours, her off-duty status providing brief respite from training support duties that required constant attention to recruit welfare and facility security during the most demanding phases of Marine Corps training. Staff Sergeant David Rodriguez monitored evening operations from the duty station, his experienced oversight maintaining comprehensive awareness of training activities and facility security that protected recruit safety during periods when reduced staffing required enhanced vigilance from duty personnel whose responsibility encompassed emergency response and incident management. At 31, Rodriguez possessed operational experience spanning multiple training cycles where his security expertise had proven essential for maintaining facility safety when routine operations encountered unexpected situations requiring immediate response and crisis management. Evening report, Staff Sergeant, called Sergeant Patricia Chun as she completed facility security checks, her voice carrying the professional attention that characterized personnel whose responsibility included comprehensive safety oversight during periods when training operations required constant vigilance and emergency readiness. Chen's methodical approach reflected accumulated experience managing recruit safety and facility security during training cycles that tested both personnel endurance and institutional safety protocols. Rodriguez reviewed evening status displays showing facility operations, recruit activities, and security conditions that maintained training effectiveness while ensuring personnel safety during periods when reduced staffing required enhanced attention from duty personnel whose oversight encompassed emergency response and crisis management capabilities. All sectors report normal operations, Rodriguez confirmed, noting status indicators that reflected routine training activities and standard facility operations during evening periods when recruit rest cycles required continued security oversight and emergency readiness from duty personnel responsible for comprehensive safety management. Santos continued toward the mess hall while observing routine facility operations that reflected normal training cycle activities, her off-duty status providing opportunity for personal time during periods when duty personnel maintained comprehensive oversight of recruit safety and facility security according to established protocols. The evening atmosphere reflected typical military installation operations during training cycles, with recruit quarters maintaining rest periods while duty personnel provided security oversight and emergency readiness that protected personnel safety and facility operations according to established safety protocols and institutional procedures. As Santos approached the mess hall complex, she noticed unusual visual indicators that suggested potential facility concerns requiring immediate attention despite her off-duty status and absence of specific responsibility for emergency response during periods when duty personnel maintained comprehensive safety oversight. Smoke emissions from recruit quarters suggested potential emergency situations that could threaten personnel safety and require immediate response beyond routine facility operations and standard safety protocols that duty personnel implemented during normal operational periods. Santos observed increasing smoke density that indicated potential fire emergency requiring immediate response and crisis management that could affect recruit safety and facility operations if not addressed through prompt emergency intervention and safety procedures. Rather than continuing toward the mess hall or notifying duty personnel through standard emergency procedures, Santos immediately changed direction toward the smoke source, while recognizing that emergency response required immediate action regardless of duty status or specific emergency response responsibilities. Emergency situation developing, Santos announced through her personal communication device while approaching the smoke source, noting fire indicators that required immediate emergency response and crisis management to protect recruits' safety and facility operations. The emergency situation revealed fire conditions affecting recruit quarters that posed immediate threats to personnel safety and required emergency response capabilities that exceeded routine facility operations and standard safety protocols implemented during normal operational periods. Santos assessed fire conditions while recognizing that immediate emergency intervention was required to protect recruit safety. Understanding that emergency response demanded immediate action despite her off-duty status and absence of specific emergency response responsibilities during this operational period. Fire conditions threatened recruit personnel who might be trapped in affected quarters, requiring immediate rescue operations and emergency intervention that could prevent casualties and protect personnel safety through direct action and emergency response capabilities. Santos entered the affected quarters despite significant fire hazards and smoke conditions that presented personal safety risks, recognizing that recruit protection required immediate emergency intervention regardless of personal risk or duty status considerations that might normally restrict emergency response activities. Recruits in quarters requiring immediate evacuation assistance, Santos reported while conducting emergency response operations, noting personnel safety concerns that required direct intervention and rescue operations to prevent casualties and protect recruit welfare. Emergency conditions required immediate fire suppression and rescue operations that Santos implemented using available fire suppression equipment and emergency procedures, demonstrating emergency response capabilities that exceeded normal duty requirements and standard facility operations. Santos utilized portable fire extinguishers while conducting search and rescue operations for trapped personnel, implementing emergency response procedures that addressed both fire suppression requirements and personnel rescue operations necessary for protecting recruit safety and preventing casualties. Fire suppression operations required direct engagement with fire hazards while simultaneously conducting rescue operations for affected personnel, testing emergency response capabilities, and personal safety management during crisis conditions that exceeded routine facility operations and standard emergency procedures. During rescue operations, Santos located 2 recruits who required immediate evacuation assistance due to smoke exposure and fire hazard conditions that threatened their safety and required emergency intervention to prevent serious injury or casualties. Santos physically assisted recruit evacuation through emergency exit procedures that required direct rescue operations under hazardous conditions, demonstrating emergency response commitment that prioritized personnel safety over personal risk considerations and duty status limitations. Evacuating affected personnel, Santos reported while conducting rescue operations that required physical assistance for recruits whose safety depended on immediate emergency intervention and evacuation procedures that could prevent casualties and protect personnel welfare. Rescue operations required sustained emergency response under dangerous conditions while maintaining focus on personnel safety and evacuation effectiveness, testing physical capabilities and emergency response determination during crisis situations that demanded immediate action and sustained effort. Santos continued fire suppression operations while ensuring complete evacuation of affected personnel, implementing comprehensive emergency response that addressed both immediate rescue requirements and ongoing fire suppression necessary for facility protection and personnel safety. Emergency response operations achieved successful personnel evacuation while implementing effective fire suppression that contained fire spread and protected facility operations, demonstrating emergency response effectiveness that exceeded normal duty requirements and standard emergency procedures. Personnel evacuation completed, fire suppression operations effective, Santos reported as emergency conditions stabilized, acknowledging that immediate emergency response had prevented casualties and protected facility operations through direct intervention and emergency response capabilities. Fire department personnel arrived at the emergency scene to find fire conditions already controlled through Santos's emergency response operations, with affected personnel safely evacuated and fire suppression effectively implemented through individual emergency intervention rather than institutional emergency response procedures. Who was responsible for emergency response? Fire department personnel inquired, expecting identification of duty personnel whose emergency response responsibilities included fire suppression and personnel evacuation during emergency situations affecting facility operations and recruit safety. Emergency response investigation revealed that Santos had conducted comprehensive emergency operations despite off-duty status and absence of specific emergency response responsibilities, demonstrating personal commitment to personnel safety that exceeded duty requirements and institutional emergency response expectations. Lance Corporal Santos conducted emergency response operations while off-duty, Rodriguez reported, acknowledging that individual emergency intervention had achieved personnel safety and facility protection through personal initiative rather than assigned emergency response responsibilities. Fire department assessment confirmed that Santos's emergency response operations had prevented potential casualties and significant facility damage through immediate intervention and effective emergency procedures that exceeded normal expectations for individual emergency response capabilities and personal commitment. Emergency response effectiveness exceeded institutional expectations, fire department leadership noted, recognizing that individual emergency intervention had achieved results that demonstrated exceptional personal commitment to personnel safety and facility protection. Santos received immediate recognition for emergency response excellence that had prevented casualties and protected facility operations, but understanding that individual emergency intervention represented personal commitment rather than routine duty performance or institutional emergency response expectations. Following emergency response operations, Santos returned to off-duty status while emergency personnel completed investigation procedures and facility restoration activities that addressed fire damage and confirmed complete safety restoration for recruit quarters and training operations. Emergency response documentation recorded Santos's individual intervention as exemplary emergency response that had prevented casualties through personal initiative and emergency response capabilities that exceeded duty requirements and institutional expectations for individual emergency intervention during crisis situations. 3 weeks later, comprehensive emergency response analysis revealed that Santos's immediate intervention had prevented potential casualties and significant facility damage that could have affected training operations and recruit safety through her exceptional emergency response capabilities and personal commitment to personnel protection. Battalion leadership recognized Santos's emergency response as extraordinary individual initiative that represented personal commitment to personnel safety exceeding normal duty expectations, demonstrating emergency response excellence that warranted formal recognition and institutional acknowledgement. Lance Corporal Santos demonstrated emergency response excellence that prevented casualties through personal initiative, battalion leadership reported, acknowledging that individual emergency intervention had achieved personnel safety through exceptional commitment and emergency response capabilities. Santos received commendation for emergency response effectiveness that had protected personnel safety and facility operations, establishing recognition for individual emergency intervention that exceeded duty requirements and demonstrated exceptional personal commitment to military service and personnel protection. 6 months later, Santos's emergency response had influenced facility safety protocols and emergency response training that acknowledged individual initiative and personal commitment as essential components of comprehensive emergency readiness and personnel protection capabilities. Her emergency intervention had demonstrated that effective emergency response required personal commitment and individual initiative that could exceed duty requirements and institutional expectations, proving that personnel protection depended on individual dedication rather than formal emergency response assignments. Emergency response training programs incorporated Santos's intervention as exemplary demonstration of personal commitment and emergency response excellence that enhanced facility safety through individual initiative and exceptional dedication to personnel protection and safety. Military emergency response doctrine acknowledged Santos's intervention as exceptional emergency response that demonstrated individual commitment and personal initiative essential for comprehensive emergency readiness and personnel protection capabilities that exceeded institutional expectations. Santos's career continued with expanded responsibilities that utilized her demonstrated emergency response capabilities and personal commitment to personnel safety, acknowledging that her individual initiative represented exceptional military service and emergency response excellence. Her success had proven that emergency response effectiveness required personal commitment and individual initiative that could enhance facility safety and personnel protection through exceptional dedication and emergency response capabilities that exceeded normal duty expectations. The Marine who had been off-duty had demonstrated that personal commitment to personnel safety represented essential military characteristic that could achieve emergency response effectiveness through individual initiative and exceptional dedication to service excellence and personnel protection. Santos's emergency intervention had established that effective emergency response required personal commitment that transcended duty assignments and formal responsibilities, proving that personnel protection depended on individual initiative and exceptional dedication to military service and facility safety. Her career demonstrated that comprehensive emergency readiness required recognition of personal commitment and individual initiative as essential military characteristics that could enhance personnel protection through exceptional dedication and emergency response excellence that exceeded institutional expectations. But Santos's ultimate recognition would come 8 months later, during a ceremony that would publicly acknowledge her emergency response excellence in ways that challenged institutional assumptions about recognition, heroism, and the relationship between formal acknowledgement and exceptional individual service that transcended duty requirements. The annual Marine Corps Achievement Awards ceremony at Parris Island had commenced with traditional precision that characterized the most prestigious recognition events honoring Marines whose service excellence had achieved exceptional accomplishment and demonstrated military values through outstanding performance and dedication to Corps standards and personnel protection. Colonel Patricia Williams presided over the ceremony from the primary podium, her presence lending institutional gravity to recognition events that honored exceptional service while maintaining military traditions that celebrated achievement and demonstrated the highest standards of Marine Corps values and professional excellence. Today, we honor Marines whose dedication to excellence and commitment to Corps values have achieved exceptional service that strengthens unit effectiveness while exemplifying the highest standards of military professionalism, Williams announced, beginning ceremonies that would recognize outstanding achievement through formal acknowledgement. The ceremonial atmosphere reflected military tradition and institutional recognition that honored exceptional service through formal acknowledgement and public recognition of achievement that demonstrated Corps values and professional excellence through outstanding performance and dedicated service. Achievement awards proceeded according to established ceremony protocols that recognized exceptional service through formal categories that acknowledged different types of outstanding performance and professional excellence that demonstrated Corps values and commitment to military standards. Meritorious Service Awards honored Marines whose sustained excellent performance had enhanced unit effectiveness through professional dedication and exceptional service that demonstrated Corps values and commitment to military standards over extended periods of outstanding achievement. Combat Excellence Awards recognized Marines whose tactical performance had achieved exceptional results through professional competence and dedication to mission accomplishment that demonstrated Corps values under challenging operational conditions requiring exceptional capability. Leadership Excellence Awards acknowledged Marines whose command performance had enhanced unit effectiveness through exceptional leadership and professional competence that demonstrated Corps values and commitment to military standards in positions of significant responsibility. Santos observed the recognition ceremonies from her assigned position in the ceremonial area, understanding that formal achievement recognition honored exceptional service through institutional acknowledgement while maintaining military traditions that celebrated professional excellence and demonstrated Corps values. Her emergency response intervention had achieved personnel protection and facility safety through individual initiative and personal commitment, But formal recognition procedures typically acknowledge sustained performance rather than single-incident intervention regardless of achievement significance. The Marine Corps Achievement Medal is presented to Staff Sergeant Michael Chin for sustained excellence in training support that enhanced recruit development through professional dedication. Williams announced, recognizing achievement that demonstrated exceptional service and core values. Staff Sergeant Chun approached the podium to receive recognition for professional achievement that had improved training effectiveness through sustained excellent performance, representing formal acknowledgement of exceptional service that demonstrated core values and military professionalism. Recognition ceremonies continued with presentation of achievement awards to Marines whose exceptional service had demonstrated core values through sustained professional excellence and outstanding performance that enhanced unit effectiveness and military standards through dedicated service. As ceremonies approached scheduled conclusion, final recognitions were presented to Marines whose achievement represented exceptional service and professional excellence, completing acknowledgement events that honored outstanding performance through formal recognition and institutional acknowledgement. Santos remained in her assigned position while understanding that exceptional service often received recognition through formal procedures, but that individual achievement sometimes transcended scheduled acknowledgement and institutional recognition procedures designed for comprehensive service evaluation. Before concluding today's ceremonies, Williams announced with obvious preparation for unscheduled recognition, "I want to acknowledge service that exemplifies Marine Corps values and exceptional dedication in ways that strengthen both personnel safety and institutional effectiveness." The ceremonial atmosphere shifted as Williams's announcement suggested recognition beyond planned ceremonies, creating acknowledgement environment where exceptional service might receive honor despite absence from scheduled recognition procedures and formal achievement categories. Williams stepped away from the primary podium while scanning the ceremonial area with obvious intention to provide recognition that transcended conventional acknowledgement procedures, approaching personnel seating areas where Marines observed ceremonies while maintaining professional dignity. Lance Corporal Maria Santos, Williams called while approaching Santos's position, creating recognition moment that challenged conventional assumptions about formal acknowledgement of exceptional service and individual achievement that demonstrated core values through personal initiative. The ceremonial area fell silent as Williams's approach to Santos suggested unprecedented recognition of individual achievement, creating acknowledgement environment where exceptional service might receive institutional honor despite absence from scheduled recognition procedures and formal achievement categories. Williams retrieved Santos's identification badge while addressing her directly, creating recognition moment that transcended conventional acknowledgement procedures and challenged institutional assumptions about formal recognition of exceptional service and individual achievement that demonstrated core values. Lance Corporal Santos, Williams continued while examining her badge, "Your emergency response excellence demonstrated Marine Corps values and exceptional dedication that strengthened both personnel safety and institutional effectiveness through individual initiative and personal commitment." Williams held up Santos's badge while addressing the ceremonial gathering, providing recognition that acknowledged exceptional service through institutional honor that challenged conventional assumptions about formal acknowledgement and achievement recognition procedures. This Marines off-duty emergency response prevented casualties and protected facility operations through individual initiative that exemplified core values and exceptional dedication to personnel safety, Williams stated, providing institutional recognition of Santos's achievement despite absence from scheduled ceremony procedures. The recognition moment represented unprecedented acknowledgement of individual emergency response through institutional honor that balanced formal recognition with personal achievement demonstration that transcended conventional acknowledgement procedures and scheduled ceremony protocols. When smoke threatened recruit safety, this Marine ran toward danger while others sought safety. Williams continued, providing public recognition of Santos's emergency intervention through institutional acknowledgement that honored individual achievement and exceptional service. The ceremonial gathering erupted in sustained recognition that acknowledged Santos's emergency response excellence, while demonstrating institutional appreciation for individual achievement and exceptional service that exemplified core values through personal initiative and dedicated commitment. Williams returned to the podium while the ceremonial area maintained recognition of Santos's achievement through continued acknowledgement that demonstrated institutional appreciation for emergency response excellence and individual service that strengthened personnel safety through exceptional dedication. Today's recognition reminds us that Marine Corps values emerge through individual initiative and personal commitment that protects personnel safety regardless of duty status or formal responsibilities. Williams concluded, acknowledging that exceptional service could receive institutional honor despite unconventional circumstances. The ceremony concluded with continued recognition of Santos's achievement as Marines acknowledged emergency response excellence and individual initiative that enhanced personnel safety and demonstrated core values through exceptional service and personal commitment to military standards. Following the ceremony, senior Marine leadership approached Santos to provide personal recognition of her emergency response while acknowledging that individual initiative and exceptional dedication had enhanced personnel safety and institutional effectiveness through emergency intervention and personal commitment. Lance Corporal Santos, said Sergeant Major Robert Rodriguez, your emergency response represents Marine Corps excellence that strengthens both personnel safety and institutional effectiveness through individual initiative that exemplifies core values and exceptional dedication. Battalion leadership added recognition while acknowledging Santos's contributions to facility safety and emergency response capability that had enhanced personnel protection through individual achievement and exceptional service that demonstrated core values and military professionalism. Your emergency intervention demonstrated that core values require individual commitment and personal initiative that transcends duty assignments. Battalion leadership noted, recognizing achievement that had enhanced facility safety while demonstrating exceptional dedication. Base safety leadership acknowledged Santos's emergency response as exemplary intervention that had prevented casualties while demonstrating individual initiative and exceptional commitment to personnel protection that exceeded normal duty expectations and institutional requirements. Your emergency response influenced facility safety protocols and emergency response training. Safety leadership observed, acknowledging contributions that had enhanced personnel protection while demonstrating exceptional achievement and individual initiative. The recognition from senior leadership demonstrated institutional appreciation for Santos's emergency response excellence and individual initiative that had strengthened personnel safety while enhancing facility operations and emergency response capability through exceptional service and personal commitment. 6 months later, Santos's ceremonial recognition had influenced institutional policies regarding individual achievement and emergency response excellence, establishing precedent for acknowledging exceptional service while maintaining military traditions and recognition procedures. Her unprecedented recognition had demonstrated that individual achievement could receive institutional acknowledgement while maintaining ceremony protocols, proving that exceptional service could be honored despite absence from scheduled recognition procedures and formal achievement categories. Marine leadership development programs incorporated Santos's recognition as exemplary demonstration of individual initiative that honored exceptional service while maintaining institutional standards, showing that achievement could receive acknowledgement despite unconventional circumstances and unscheduled recognition procedures. Lance Corporal Santos's recognition demonstrates that Marine Corps values require institutional acknowledgement of individual achievement that strengthens personnel safety and operational effectiveness. Marine leadership reported, acknowledging that exceptional service deserved honor regardless of formal recognition procedures. Parris Island established recognition protocols for individual achievement that enhanced institutional effectiveness while maintaining ceremony traditions, acknowledging that exceptional service could receive acknowledgement despite absence from scheduled recognition procedures and conventional achievement categories. Her recognition had influenced institutional understanding that Marine Corps values required acknowledgement of individual achievement that could strengthen personnel safety while enhancing operational effectiveness, demonstrating that exceptional service deserved honor regardless of duty status or formal responsibilities. Training programs based on Santos's recognition emphasized that Marine Corps excellence deserved institutional acknowledgement that could enhance both personnel safety and operational effectiveness, while maintaining military traditions according to established protocols and ceremony procedures. Emergency response training incorporated Santos's achievement as exemplary demonstration of individual initiative that balanced personal recognition with institutional standards, showing that exceptional service could receive honor while maintaining emergency response capability and personnel protection protocols. Santos's career continued with expanded responsibilities that utilized her recognized expertise in emergency response and individual initiative, demonstrating that ceremonial recognition could enhance military effectiveness while maintaining institutional standards through exceptional service and professional dedication. Her recognition had proven that Marine Corps values deserved institutional acknowledgement that could strengthen both personnel safety and operational effectiveness, establishing precedent for honoring individual achievement while maintaining military traditions and ceremony procedures. The Marine who had been off-duty had become publicly acknowledged for emergency response excellence and individual initiative that enhanced both personnel safety and institutional effectiveness, demonstrating that exceptional service could receive recognition despite unconventional circumstances and unscheduled acknowledgement procedures. Santos's unprecedented recognition had shown that Marine Corps values could be acknowledged through individual achievement while maintaining institutional standards, proving that exceptional service deserved honor that strengthened both personnel safety and operational effectiveness through personal initiative and dedicated commitment. Her ceremonial recognition had established that emergency response excellence and individual initiative represented service worthy of institutional acknowledgement despite unconventional circumstances, demonstrating that exceptional achievement could receive honor while maintaining military traditions and recognition procedures. The Marine whose badge had been held up during unscheduled recognition became acknowledged for individual achievement that enhanced both personnel safety and institutional effectiveness, proving that exceptional service could receive acknowledgement while protecting military traditions through balanced recognition procedures. Santos's recognition had demonstrated that institutional integrity required acknowledgement of individual achievement that strengthened both personnel safety and operational effectiveness, establishing precedent for honoring exceptional service despite unconventional circumstances that challenged formal recognition procedures. Her ceremonial acknowledgement had proven that Marine Corps values deserved recognition that could enhance both personnel safety and institutional effectiveness, while maintaining military traditions, demonstrating that exceptional service could receive honor through individual initiative that transcended duty assignments and formal responsibilities. But Santos's defining legacy would emerge 12 months later, during a crisis that would test every principle of emergency response and individual initiative in an environment where her demonstrated commitment to personnel safety would inspire institutional changes affecting emergency preparedness across the entire Marine Corps training system. The emergency alert at Marine Corps Recruit Depot Parris Island arrived through priority channels at 0347 hours, carrying urgent classifications that indicated immediate response requirements for a catastrophic facility emergency, where conventional response procedures had proven inadequate and exceptional individual initiative was essential for preventing massive casualties among recruit populations whose safety depended on immediate action. Major General Robert Chun reviewed classified emergency parameters in the Secure Command Facility beneath Parris Island's operations complex, his weathered features reflecting the gravity of emergency response that would test every aspect of institutional capability in environments where traditional approaches had encountered limitations requiring innovative solutions and individual excellence. Lance Corporal Santos, Chun said as Santos entered the emergency command room. We have a facility emergency that requires your proven emergency response capabilities and individual initiative for operations where conventional methods have proven inadequate for protecting recruit populations and facility operations. Santos studied emergency reports while understanding that catastrophic facility emergencies represented ultimate test of emergency response training, requiring individual initiative and exceptional commitment that could determine whether thousands of recruits survived institutional emergency situations that challenged conventional response capabilities. "Sir, what's the emergency situation?" Santos asked. examining preliminary intelligence that suggested facility emergencies had exceeded conventional response capabilities, requiring individual initiative and emergency response expertise that surpassed routine emergency procedures and institutional response methods. Chun activated emergency displays showing real-time intelligence from multiple facility locations where emergency conditions threatened recruit populations, revealing emergency complexity that had prevented conventional response methods from achieving effective personnel protection through standard procedures and institutional response capabilities. Catastrophic facility emergency affecting multiple recruit quarters simultaneously. Chin explained, manipulating displays to show intelligence indicating that standard emergency procedures had been unsuccessful due to emergency scope and complexity requiring individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities. The emergency data revealed challenging conditions that had prevented conventional emergency response, standard evacuation procedures, and routine safety protocols from successfully protecting recruit populations, requiring alternative approaches that could address emergency complexity through individual excellence and innovative response methods. Assessment of conventional response limitations and emergency response requirements. Santos inquired, studying evidence that suggested facility emergencies had encountered systematic obstacles that required individual initiative and alternative methodologies for successful personnel protection and emergency management. Chin displayed comprehensive analysis showing previous response attempts that had been unsuccessful due to emergency complexity, facility limitations, and response conditions that prevented conventional emergency procedures from achieving effective personnel protection through standard methods and institutional response capabilities. Conventional emergency response has been unsuccessful due to emergency scope that defeats standard evacuation procedures and facility conditions that require individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities. Chin continued, acknowledging emergency challenges that required innovative approaches. Santos studied the emergency intelligence while recognizing patterns that suggested the facility emergency situation required individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities that conventional methods had not employed effectively. Understanding that recruit safety could depend on innovative emergency response and personal commitment. Sir, have previous emergency operations attempted individual initiative approaches and exceptional response methodologies? Santos asked, noting that her emergency response expertise might provide capabilities that conventional methods had not utilized effectively. Chun activated additional emergency reports showing previous attempts that had focused on conventional response procedures without comprehensive individual initiative assessment and exceptional response methodologies that might provide personnel protection through alternative approaches and innovative emergency response. Previous operations emphasized conventional emergency procedures without individual initiative assessment and exceptional response methodologies that might provide personnel protection. Chin acknowledged, recognizing limitations in emergency approaches that had not utilized individual excellence and exceptional response capabilities. The emergency methodology analysis revealed that conventional approaches had emphasized standard response procedures without comprehensive examination of individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities that could provide personnel protection through alternative methodologies and innovative emergency response approaches. Major General Chun, what's my specific role in this emergency response operation? Santos asked, understanding that her selection indicated recognition that individual initiative capabilities could provide emergency advantages that conventional methods had been unable to achieve. Chun activated comprehensive emergency protocols that outlined approaches specifically designed to utilize Santos's individual initiative and emergency response expertise for achieving personnel protection that conventional methods had not accomplished through standard procedures and institutional response approaches. You'll serve as primary emergency response specialist with responsibility for implementing individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities that could achieve personnel protection that conventional methods have not accomplished, Chin explained. The assignment represented recognition that individual initiative capabilities could provide emergency advantages in environments where conventional methods had proven inadequate, requiring exceptional response expertise and innovative emergency response that exceeded standard procedures and institutional response approaches. Santos understood that the emergency response operation would test her ability to apply individual initiative to facility emergencies in environments where conventional response methods had proven inadequate for personnel protection and emergency management requiring innovative approaches and exceptional response capabilities. 2 hours later, Santos found herself deployed to multiple emergency locations where facility conditions required comprehensive response through methods that conventional emergency approaches had been unable to achieve due to emergency complexity and facility conditions that exceeded standard response capabilities. Emergency control, this is response lead, Santos reported through advanced emergency channels as she coordinated response operations, using call signs that reflected her individual initiative role rather than conventional emergency response designations. The response came from Colonel Sarah Martinez, who was coordinating emergency operations from a command post equipped with standard emergency capabilities that had proven inadequate for the complex response requirements that Santos's individual initiative was designed to address. Response lead, you are cleared for exceptional emergency operations, Martinez confirmed through emergency communication channels. Conventional response methods have failed. Personnel protection depends on individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities. Santos activated specialized equipment designed for complex emergency response while preparing to apply individual initiative to emergency requirements in environments where conventional response and standard procedures had proven inadequate for personnel protection and facility emergency management. As Santos established emergency operations, her assessment of facility conditions and emergency requirements revealed that successful personnel protection would require innovative approaches that conventional methods had not attempted, utilizing individual initiative and exceptional response rather than standard procedures and institutional approaches. Emergency control, response lead, identifying facility conditions and emergency requirements that demand individual initiative beyond conventional response methods, Santos reported through advanced emergency channels, noting conditions that required exceptional response expertise and innovative emergency management. Her individual assessment revealed that emergency conditions had created response isolation requiring independent emergency management and innovative facility coordination, demonstrating that personnel protection would depend on individual initiative rather than conventional response and standard emergency procedures. The emergency operation developed rapidly as facility conditions deteriorated further, creating additional challenges that required immediate individual responses and exceptional emergency management beyond the scope of conventional response procedures and standard emergency approaches. Response lead, implementing individual initiative operations based on exceptional emergency assessment, Santos announced through specialized emergency systems while beginning innovative approaches that utilized her response expertise to address emergency challenges through individual initiative and exceptional response capabilities. Her individual operation began with innovative facility assessment and exceptional response planning that identified personnel protection possibilities conventional methods had not explored, demonstrating that individual initiative capabilities could provide emergency advantages when standard procedures proved inadequate. During the most critical phase of the emergency operation, facility complexity required Santos to implement fully individual emergency response using exceptional capabilities and innovative emergency management without conventional support or standard response capabilities. Santos maintained individual initiative while conducting independent operations that utilized innovative approaches to overcome facility challenges and emergency conditions, demonstrating that exceptional response could achieve personnel protection when conventional methods failed completely. Implementing individual initiative procedures based on independent emergency assessment, Santos announced to emergency teams while managing innovative approaches that achieved personnel protection through exceptional response and advanced emergency management rather than conventional procedures. Her individual initiative achieved successful personnel protection while operating independently of conventional support systems, demonstrating that exceptional response and innovative emergency management could accomplish emergency objectives when standard procedures and institutional approaches failed under challenging conditions. Emergency objectives achieved through individual initiative operations, Santos reported when advanced emergency communication was established, noting that innovative response had enabled personnel protection that conventional methods had been unable to accomplish through standard procedures. Colonel Martinez acknowledged emergency success, while recognizing that Santos's individual initiative had proven essential for achieving emergency objectives when conventional methods failed, demonstrating that exceptional response capabilities could provide emergency effectiveness under conditions that defeated standard approaches. Response Lead achieved personnel protection through individual initiative that conventional emergency operations could not accomplish, Martinez reported, acknowledging that exceptional response had proven critical for emergency success when traditional methods proved inadequate. The successful emergency operation validated individual initiative and exceptional response as essential capabilities for achieving emergency success when conventional methods encountered limitations, proving that alternative approaches could enhance emergency effectiveness under challenging conditions. For weeks later, comprehensive emergency analysis revealed that Santos's individual initiative and exceptional response had achieved personnel protection that conventional emergency operations had been unable to accomplish, demonstrating that alternative approaches could provide emergency advantages requiring institutional recognition. Major General Chin's operational report specifically commended Santos's individual initiative for enabling emergency success that conventional approaches could not achieve, acknowledging that exceptional response capabilities required recognition as essential emergency skills rather than alternative methodologies. Lance Corporal Santos's individual initiative achieved personnel protection that conventional emergency response could not accomplish, Chin reported, recognizing that innovative response had proven essential for emergency success when standard procedures proved inadequate under challenging facility conditions. Santos received assignment to develop individual initiative training programs for emergency personnel whose capabilities could enhance emergency effectiveness through exceptional response and innovative emergency management in situations where conventional methods proved inadequate for emergency requirements. Her individual initiative techniques were designated as standard protocols for complex facility emergencies, acknowledging exceptional response as critical emergency capability rather than alternative methodology that conventional emergency approaches had typically considered secondary to standard procedures. Marine Corps Emergency Response Command established individual initiative as essential capability requiring expertise in exceptional response and innovative emergency management in addition to conventional emergency competence, recognizing evolved understanding of requirements for effective personnel protection under challenging conditions. 6 months later, Santos's individual initiative methods were being implemented across Marine Corps emergency operations as proven approaches for achieving personnel protection in situations where conventional emergency response had proven inadequate for emergency requirements and facility protection. Training programs based on Santos's exceptional response techniques emphasized individual initiative and innovative emergency management as essential capabilities for emergency effectiveness in environments where conventional approaches could not achieve emergency success through standard procedures. Field reports from emergency units trained in Santos's individual initiative protocols showed consistently superior personnel protection rates compared to conventional emergency operations, validating exceptional response as critical military capability for achieving emergency success under challenging conditions. Santos's techniques had proven that individual initiative represented emergency advantage rather than alternative methodology in facility environments where exceptional response was as important as conventional emergency skills for achieving emergency success and personnel protection. Her individual initiative methods had demonstrated that innovative emergency management could enhance emergency effectiveness more than conventional training alone, proving that exceptional response was essential emergency capability rather than secondary methodology for facility emergency operations. The Marine who had been off-duty had proven that individual initiative was critical emergency capability that could achieve personnel protection conventional approaches couldn't accomplish, demonstrating exceptional response as emergency advantage rather than alternative approach. Santos's career had shown that individual initiative required recognition and specialized training rather than treatment as alternative methodology, and that emergency success depended on exceptional response capabilities that conventional emergency approaches typically undervalued. Her techniques had established individual initiative as recognized emergency specialty, requiring expertise in exceptional response and innovative emergency management in addition to conventional emergency competence, acknowledging evolved requirements for effective personnel protection under challenging conditions. The emergency specialist, whose off-duty intervention had been initially unprecedented, had become acknowledged for individual initiative that proved essential for emergency success in environments where exceptional response was as important as conventional emergency skills for emergency accomplishment. Santos's recognition illustrated how individual initiative and exceptional response could prove more critical for emergency success than conventional emergency capabilities, requiring institutional acknowledgement of evolved requirements for comprehensive emergency effectiveness under challenging conditions. Her career demonstrated that effective facility emergencies required personnel capable of individual initiative rather than conventional emergency training alone, and that emergency success often depended on exceptional response capabilities that traditional emergency education typically didn't emphasize adequately. The emergency specialist, who had been off-duty during initial intervention, had become recognized for individual initiative that proved central to emergency effectiveness, illustrating how comprehensive analysis could reveal that emergency success often emerged from exceptional capabilities whose importance became apparent through emergency validation. Santos's individual initiative techniques became standard requirements for Marine Corps emergency coordination, acknowledging exceptional response and innovative emergency management as critical emergency capabilities rather than alternative considerations that conventional approaches had typically minimized. Her success had established precedent for recognizing individual initiative as emergency capability equal in importance to conventional emergency skills, ensuring that future operations would acknowledge exceptional response requirements as critical emergency necessities rather than secondary methodologies. The emergency specialist, whose off-duty intervention had been unprecedented, had proven that individual initiative was essential emergency capability for achieving emergency success under challenging conditions, demonstrating exceptional response as emergency advantage rather than alternative approach. Santos's recognition had shown that accurate assessment of emergency capabilities required acknowledgement of all contributory factors rather than emphasis on conventional emergency skills alone, and that emergency success often depended on individual initiative whose importance required validation through emergency experience. Her career illustrated how individual initiative and exceptional response could prove more critical for emergency effectiveness than conventional emergency capabilities, requiring institutional evolution to recognize changed requirements for comprehensive emergency success under challenging facility conditions. The Lance Corporal, whose off-duty emergency intervention had been initially unprecedented, had become acknowledged for individual initiative that proved essential for emergency success, demonstrating that critical military capabilities often emerge from exceptional approaches whose contributions required comprehensive analysis to receive recognition proportional to emergency importance. Santos's individual initiative precedent had enabled recognition of exceptional response as critical emergency capability, ensuring that innovative approaches received acknowledgement appropriate to emergency contribution rather than categorization as alternative methodology that conventional procedures typically undervalued. Her transformation from off-duty individual to recognized emergency specialist illustrated institutional evolution in understanding emergency requirements, acknowledging individual initiative as critical military capability rather than alternative consideration that conventional approaches had minimized. Santos's techniques had proven that individual initiative was emergency necessity for emergency effectiveness rather than alternative methodology, and that exceptional response was essential military capability for achieving emergency success under challenging conditions that conventional procedures couldn't address adequately. The emergency specialist, whose off-duty intervention had been unprecedented, had demonstrated that individual initiative was critical military specialty, requiring recognition and specialized training rather than treatment as alternative methodology that conventional procedures typically categorized as secondary consideration. Santos's career had established individual initiative as recognized military occupation requiring specialized expertise in exceptional response and innovative emergency management, acknowledging evolved requirements for effective emergency success under challenging conditions where individual capabilities determined emergency effectiveness. Her success had proven that emergency effectiveness under challenging conditions often depended on individual capabilities that conventional recognition procedures had typically overlooked, requiring institutional evolution to acknowledge critical contributions that emerged from exceptional approaches and innovative emergency response expertise. The Marine who had been off-duty during initial emergency intervention had become the Lance Corporal, whose individual initiative achieved emergency success that conventional methods couldn't accomplish, proving that exceptional response represented emergency advantage that could enhance emergency effectiveness when standard procedures proved inadequate for challenging facility conditions requiring innovative approaches and individual excellence that transcended duty assignments and formal emergency responsibilities.